Well, good afternoon, YouTube. This is Chuck, and it's Wednesday, January 8th, I believe it is. Yeah, 2025, about 3:30 in the afternoon. And I'm out here in the van/recording studio, and I got some more information from you. Boy, I've been getting a lot of stuff come in the last 2-3 days, and I've been wanting to shoot this video for 2 days now, but things kind of got in the way. And, yesterday we made a Costco run down to the big city, and that took most of the day, and so I didn't get to film this yesterday. And then the day before that was Noli's Day, so I ended up over there most of the afternoon. So anyway, let me see if I can get you caught up. I've got this is going to be a Bigfoot video again, and I've got some notes written here, and so if I glance down at my leg, that's what I'm doing, is following up on my notes. And my last video I put up was on January 4th. And some of this stuff is new. All kinds of stuff been happening, and some of it's a continuation of this, and clarification update on some of the stuff that I talked about last time. So let me see if I can get you started. I started out on the 4th. I got a email from a guy in southwestern Virginia, and was asking some questions about getting started and so forth. And so I answered his email, and I suggested that he watch my video that I call my 100th Bigfoot Stuff video. Do you want to make contact? And do everything that it says to do there. Now you'll see where this fits in here in a little bit. Well, then on the morning of the 5th, I got a text message from my friend up in Utah. And if you watch my last video, it talked about that he'd been talking with a young female from Alaska named Rowena. And Rowena was, she's 6 years old, and he'd also had contact with another female from Washington State, and her name was Marie. And when he talked to her, she said that she was Rowena's mother. Well, we couldn't figure out why Rowena's mother would be in Washington and Rowena would be up in Alaska, especially being as young as she is. And so anyway, my friend had contact with Rowena again, and he actually asked her about that. And Rowena just very casually told him that her mother was down in Washington visiting with her brother and his wife, because her brother's mate was getting ready to have a baby, so she went down to assist. Just a very, something like we would do. Well, my friend asked her, he said, well, that's a long distance. How did she get down there? And Rowena said, very, very calmly, matter-of-factly, said, oh, she went by portal. Like it's something that's no big deal, happens every day, which it probably does in their world. But what that does to us is one more confirmation that portals are real, and tells us a little bit about how they're used. So a little bit later, my friend's, the young one that kind of hangs around him all the time, his name is Lewis. Well, Lewis showed up. And so he was talking with Lewis, and he asked Lewis if a couple nights prior to that, he'd had a big presence in his house, and a very powerful presence, and kind of concerned him a little bit, and he didn't think it was, there was nothing evil or malicious about it, but he couldn't get that, whoever it was, he couldn't get him to talk to him. And so he asked Lewis about that, and he asked Lewis if that was an elder, and Lewis confirmed that, yes, it was an elder. And so there was an elder there in my friend's house. He thinks that he and his wife both might have got some kind of a knowledge drop out of it, although he's not quite sure what that might have been. So anyway, so that was another question from the thing I talked about in the previous video that was answered. Why Rowena was in Alaska while her mother was in Washington, and also whether that presence in my friend's house was actually an elder. It was, and for some reason or other, he chose not to talk to my friend. All right, so then I got an email from another guy from Southwest Virginia, and he was anyway, and he had some experiences, and he actually sent me a couple of pictures. And the pictures were taken by a rural mail carrier up there in Virginia and showed a juvenile. Well, if y'all have been watching my videos, you know that I used to share pictures on the channel that people would send me. And the local Sasquatch folks that I deal with, they objected to that. They didn't want me doing that. So my friend up in Utah says, hey, can I have copies of those? And I thought, well, maybe, given what he's experiencing, what I'm experiencing, maybe it's okay to send pictures up to him, the pictures on up to him. And so I kind of decided I was going to do that. And while I was typing an answer to him and getting ready to tell him I think it's probably okay for me to send the pictures, I got a tingle. And so I asked, is this okay? Is it okay for me to share these pictures with my friend in Utah, given that he's having communication with your people as well? And I got an affirmative. They didn't mind for me to share those pictures. So I sent copies up to my friend up in Utah. And unfortunately, I still won't share them with you guys because, it's, like I said, I promised the Sasquatch folks here I wouldn't do that because they objected to that. But I guess it was okay for me to send these pictures. And what it is, it's a little juvenile and standing by a tree. And unless you know what you're looking for, in the first picture you don't see him, but the second picture zoomed in. And I picked up on him on the first picture. I saw him right away. And anyway, so while I was doing that, while I was actually sending him up the pictures, I got a tingle again. And I responded back, and I said, does this have to do with these pictures? And I got an affirmative. And so let me see if I make sure, if I get this, got to get this right. Anyway, yeah, and I got a name, and the name I got initially was Remy. And so I asked if that was a juvenile in the picture, and I got no response. And so I said, well, okay, then, can you give me the name of the juvenile in the picture? Well, what I figured out was that Remy was the one that was talking to me. The juvenile in the picture, his name is Sebastian. And Sebastian's 6 years old. So there's two more names. So anyway, I emailed the guy in Virginia back. And so I gave him those names. And I also emailed him again, and I asked him if the first guy that I talked to from Virginia was a friend that he had talked about in his email. Well, he emailed me back, and I got that. By this time, it was the 6th, and he said no, that was not. He did not know this guy, and he told me his friend's name, and his friend's name is something totally different entirely. So now we got three human people out of Southwest Virginia, and we've got some information and some stuff going on up there. Well, then, in the meantime, then I got another email, and this is from a guy up in the Minneapolis, Minnesota area, and he'd had an experience in South Dakota a few years ago. And he was wanting to know if there's any way I could get a name on that one. Well, I haven't been able to as of yet. And I haven't given up on it. But there's been a lot of other stuff going on. And I just haven't had a chance really to try to reach out and see if I can get any more information on that. But it's amazing. It's like they have me under 24/7 surveillance. And I come up with a question in my mind, and bam, they're right there to answer it. And I've gotten some names that's been really pretty cool. And it hasn't stopped yet. So in the meantime, then, I get another lengthy email, from a guy from Vancouver, British Columbia. Well, this one here, he's got some ideas on the mind speak or telepathy that he wanted to share. And it's really a subject in itself. So I haven't really answered him yet either. So if he watches this, I haven't given up on you. I've just been busy. I haven't had a chance to really think about an answer for you. So I haven't got back to you. A little bit after that, I got another one from a fellow I've been working with in northern Florida. Well, I got about 3 or 4 people now in northern Florida. And I've been wanting to make sure it's okay for them all to share all their contact information and get them all together. And what this email was about was he's asking me if I'm going to do that because he's interested in it, and he'll watch this one too, And yeah, I'm interested in doing that. Here again, I just got to get it all tied together and get it done. So that was the 6th, and of course, like I said, that was Noli's day, so I was kind of busy for the afternoon. So let's go to yesterday. 4 o'clock yesterday morning. I'm laying there awake. I woke up and had to go potty about 3:30, and I'm laying there awake, and I get a tingle, and I respond back to it. And so it's a guy named Winston, and Winston's a 59-year-old male, and he's from northern Washington, right up along the Canadian border. In fact, the visual he gave me, and sometimes when they ask them where they're from, they give you kind of a visual, and it's almost like a Google Earth satellite view of the area. And of course, there's no lines or anything on it. And so I asked him, I said, are you in Washington or are you in British Columbia? And he told me he was in Washington, but up near the line. Okay. So I said, we're dealing with another one up there named Marie, and do you by any chance know Marie? And yeah, he knows Marie. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I tried to ask him if maybe he was a relative or maybe he was the brother. I don't know, but he was gone, and they never stay around very long. Well, in the meantime, I got I missed one here. I'm sorry. Let me back up the day before. Actually, this is still on the 5th. I got an email from a guy I've been working with, and his name is Greg. He's from Eastern Tennessee, and he doesn't mind me using his name. And he had reminded me of an incident that had happened and asked me again about getting a name. And and he sent me an email earlier where he outlined what had happened about this name. And what the deal was is he had gotten a name, but he wasn't sure whether the name was correct or not. And the name he gotten it was kind of like 2 names, and he wasn't sure what it was. And the first name he got, we thought was Jordan. And then they came back and repeated it, and the name he thought he got was Joe Dorr. And so he asked me if there's any way I could check and see about that. Well, once again, I'm reading this thing, and I get a tingle. So I ask him, what is it? Is it Jordan or is it Joe Dorr? And they come back and they confirm that it's Joe Dorr is the correct name. So anyway, I forwarded that information back to my friend Greg in Eastern Tennessee. He also emailed me back because I was talking about these guys in Southwest Virginia, which is not too far from him. And so he asked me, he says, if you get those guys tied together and if I can help in any way, let me know. So I still got to take some time to work on all that. So we might be setting up a meet up in Southwest Virginia, and we might be setting another one up in Florida. And so that's cool. I think that's absolutely cool. So anyway, so let me fast forward now to today. And my friend up in Utah and I, when we discussed this whole deal with Rowena and her mother Marie, and we're just absolutely amazed at how mature Rowena sounds. For 6 years old, she has excellent communication skills. She's very well spoken. My friend has very clear communication with her. And I even thought one night that I got a very distant somebody reaching out to me, and I thought I got the name Rowena. And so I asked my friend, I said, 2 things. I said, for a 6-year-old, she seems awfully mature. If she talks to you again, why don't you ask her and confirm that she is indeed 6 years old, and ask her if she did reach out to me the other night. And so, by golly, this morning, she kind of checked in with him, and he asked her to confirm how old she was. And I told my friend, I said, she sounded like, she might be 26 instead of 6. And we might have just heard it wrong. And he checked with her, and sure enough, that's what the deal is. Rowena is 26. She's not 6. And that really, really fills in a lot of blanks, because she was acting very, very mature for a 6-year-old. And so anyway, we found out, we answered some questions about Rowena. Oh, and by the way, he asked her if she had tried to reach out and talk to me and got no answer. So we don't know for sure. whether she did or whether she didn't. I didn't hear the name very well, so I don't know. Maybe I read something in there that wasn't there or something. But what it shows is that what we get isn't, we don't always hear it correctly. There's other things that work there, and sometimes we don't hear it, and sometimes we get corrected, and it's always there's always something going on, and sometimes we check back and get updates on stuff. So there was some other stuff happened too, but this is a bombshell. Some of this stuff, and I'm getting a lot of information in. If you're one of these people that contact me, you know who you are, and if I haven't got back to you yet, it's because like I say, I've been tied up with stuff. I wanted to bring you this video and to kind of update everything before it all kind of runs together in your head after a while, and so I try to make notes on it. I probably should start actually doing journaling so I can keep track of everything that happens in every day, and I don't do that, but I probably should, because I get stuff mixed up just like I did in this video. But I think I got it straightened out, and I think you know where I'm coming from on it. So like I always do, let me tell you to take care of each other and love each other, and it's a lot of stuff coming in, and this is almost becoming a full-time job. So, and I love it. I love every bit of it. I'm not complaining for a minute. So I guess until I get back with some more information for you, let me just tell you for right now, peace out.